In an opening statement shared before her testimony began, Clinton criticized the committee's investigation for refusing to interview President Donald Trump, saying, quote, "If this committee is serious about learning the truth about Epstein's trafficking crimes, it would not rely on press gaggles to get answers from our current president on his involvement. It would ask him directly under oath about the tens of thousands of times he shows up in the Epstein files," end quote.
What we're seeing, I think it's fair to say, is a continuing cover-up by the Trump administration. They are redacting the names of men who are in it. They are stonewalling legitimate requests from members of Congress. That has nothing to do with us. Something is going on. They know it. I know it. Why do they want to pull us into this? To divert attention from President Trump. This is not complicated. This is so obvious.
What have you been hearing from your sources about what's been going on there?
Yeah, as you said, Casey, this is a deposition that is taking place behind closed doors. It is being filmed and will be transcribed. So until the committee decides to put all of that out there, we're not going to get the full picture of what exactly is transpiring inside that deposition room. However, having said that, the Democratic lawmakers on the House Oversight Committee have already made clear they've come out and spoken with reporters and essentially said that they have yet to learn anything new from the former Secretary of State about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and their crimes, saying that, somebody that hasn't actually ever met Jeffrey Epstein can't possibly give us the information that we are looking for that is new, that could help our investigation into Epstein. They are also using that as an opportunity to continue pressing the point that they believe there are many, many other people who should be deposed in this manner, including, of course, they say, the current president, President Donald Trump. In terms, Casey, of the kinds of questions that the former First Lady has been asked in that closed-door deposition, we know that she has been asked about whether she has had conversations about Epstein with some individuals close to Epstein, including the co-executors of his estate, like Darren Indyke or Richard Kahn. She has said no. And then at another point, I was told by a source, she essentially said, "I'm not even familiar with some of these names that you are bringing up." Now, one of the many reasons, of course, that the Clintons have not been keen on sitting down for this kind of deposition is because they don't want to have questions being asked about Bill Clinton, who, of course, has a very different story when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. He has an established relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He has appeared in the Epstein files a whole bunch. And I was told by a source that Congresswoman Nancy Mace asked Hillary Clinton about some of Bill Clinton's actions, including what you referenced. How does she feel about the fact that she was massaged by young women? And she responded that she's not going to talk about her feelings here.
MJ, can you tell us a little bit more about that leaked photo, why it paused the deposition, how it played out?
Yeah, these were photos that appear to have been taken by Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, who sits on this committee. And in the middle of the deposition, we saw a couple of these photos being posted on Twitter, again, appear to have been taken by her. She came outside of the deposition room and spoke with reporters very briefly. She basically defended her actions and said, why not take these photos? I've not been reprimanded. And when I asked her what has stood out to her so far from this deposition of Hillary Clinton, she said, I admired her blue suit. All of this goes to say, Democrats have been calling for this deposition to be handled in public, for it to be in open press so that, reporters and others can be watching all of the questions and the answers that are going back and forth. And I'm told that the ranking member, Congressman Garcia, used that as an opportunity to, again, make that point. But we have no reason right now, Casey, to think that that's going to happen, that we're going to be allowed into the deposition room. So until then, we'll be coming to you from this parking lot.
Annie, I wanted to have you on today because of this analysis piece that you wrote. And the headline is this, quote, "For Hillary Clinton, an Epstein deposition is the latest stand by your man moment." And you write that she is once again under pressure to answer for the actions, relationships of her husband. And, we should also tell the audience you're a congressional correspondent now, but of course you covered Hillary Clinton's campaign for president. You really understand kind of the things that she has been through in recent history on the world stage, on the political stage. How is today playing out in Chappaqua, New York? And I think I'm particularly interested in this comment we're reporting about how she's not there to talk about her feelings.
I thought that was such an interesting line that you and MJ both cited. First of all, I think that any Republican who thinks that a question is going to rattle her about Bill Clinton and women, I mean, Trump tried to do this to her at the debate, inviting, women who have accused Bill Clinton of various things to rattle her. Like, this is not her first rodeo on the issue of Bill Clinton and women. So I think that any trained lawyer would know that a question about feelings is not one you're going to answer under oath. But yeah, I mean, my piece today was looking at how, the only reason we're here, the only reason Hillary Clinton is testifying before this committee is because Bill Clinton had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And there's really it's very clear that there's no connection from Hillary to Jeffrey Epstein. She's never met him. It's a very thin strand to be pulling on. And so once again, she's being dragged in to answer questions that she would prefer not to be answering because of her husband. And in this case, this is a question about a sex offender, and we could see in Hillary's opening statement how offended she is that, as someone who's worked for women's rights, that she's being questioned as someone who would have been involved or had information about a sex trafficker. But Bill Clinton's testimony tomorrow is unprecedented in that a former president has never been forced against his will to testify before Congress. Hillary Clinton's testimony is eyebrow raising in a different way, just because it's really not clear why she is here other than a connection to her husband.
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, Lulu Garcia-Navarro, this is, of course, she's not the only high-profile woman who potentially is in this situation. I mean, we've seen Melinda French Gates. She is not being questioned by the committee, but
Melania Trump, was someone who had actually knew Jeffrey Epstein, and there are images of them together. So if you wanted to bring someone in that was sort of tangentially related, you could bring in Melania Trump. I mean, I think this opens the door to many people who were actually in the Epstein files, potentially. I do think in this case, as my colleague Annie Carney says, this isn't Hillary Clinton's first rodeo. She kind of ate Republicans for lunch during the Benghazi hearings, so I don't think this will go very well for them. I think it will be different for Bill Clinton.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, Kate, that Melinda French Gates is also being asked to answer for crimes that her husband committed functionally, right? And as Annie sort of capably laid out, right, this is another instance where Hillary Clinton has had to do this. But at the same time, Bill Clinton, I mean, you can see the pictures. I mean, there are legitimate questions to ask him. How does this cut for Democrats?
Well, I actually think that the real impact that this is having is it's actually just underscoring the hypocrisy with which Republicans are approaching this. I mean, absolutely, should Bill Clinton be forced to answer questions about his appearance in the Epstein files? I believe, yes, he should, absolutely. But I think if the standard is somebody who is tangentially related to somebody who is named in the files, comes in, then okay, well, why aren't we hearing from Howard Lutnick, who has lied, who openly lied about having cut off ties with Epstein and then was subsequently found to have gone to the island in 2012. So if Republicans are serious about having a comprehensive investigation, then let's hear from the people who also need to be asked these questions on the Republican side of the aisle.
Yeah.
Seems fair, Scott.
I suspect Democrats will try to haul him in if they were to regain control of the committee. I suspect they might try to haul in other people as well.
I mean, Democrats went along with, quote unquote, hauling in the Clintons.
I mean, in the case of the Clintons, and look, I guess we'll all get to watch the tape. I guess that's part of the agreement pretty soon. But, Hillary Clinton, I mean, she probably had some views on this. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein visited the Clinton White House 17 times. Ghislaine Maxwell was at their daughter's wedding. I mean, her husband is in these files. I mean, she probably had some knowledge of some connections, at least, between him and Jeffrey Epstein. So I'll be interested to see how they ask those questions. The real meat of this will be tomorrow when they talk to Bill Clinton And, you know, he has some questions to answer here. So, again, I guess this will be most relevant when we get to all watch the tapes and see how they handle it.